In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side. Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Hello everybody, my name is Michael, and welcome to Dark Souls. This is a masterpiece of a game. It is the greatest game of the previous console generation, the 360 PS3 generation, and one of the greatest games ever made. It is absolutely amazing. It's the game that really reinvigorated my love of gaming in general and my desire to play games and create games perhaps one day. And it wasn't, my faith in games hadn't been lost, so to speak. It had sort of been made comatose for a while, and this shocked it out of it. Now, before I get into anything and explain what I'm going to be doing, let's talk about the story that we just saw, because it is fresh in our minds now. Let's grab this key and get out of what appears to be a prison that we are in. The story that we just saw, the Dark Souls series does story in an incredibly unique and exciting way. It is unobtrusive, it does not get in your way, and it allows you to figure it out. You read the story rather than the story being told to you. And that is a very key difference. In most video games, they try to tell the story to you. But really, gaming is such a unique art form that you really should be allowed to read the story. You should be allowed to come up with the story on your own by viewing what is in the game. And simply playing the game is, of course, part of the story. But let's talk about that opening cutscene while it's fresh in our minds, because my first playthrough of this game, I forgot about it, like 10, 20 hours later. The opening cutscene describes ancient history, and a lot of what we do with discovering the story is discovering the past. Because I love history and I love archaeology, the fact that you play a game where you essentially you can act like a historian or archaeologist by reading things into vague details, into common items like weapons or armor that you find in a game. You feel like you're an archaeologist, sort of deducing things by finding potsherds or examining some sort of the architecture of the place that you're in. And the story that we just told was the ancient history of this world. And thousands, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago, the forces that we saw there of Gwyn, Nito, well, let's start at the beginning, excuse me. At the very beginning, the oldest point in time, there was a bizarre and thoroughly alien world of everlasting dragons that seemed at first not to move, that their immortality and their perfection was somehow immobile. They looked like they were made of stone almost at first before they began flying. And this was an immortals world, and it's very common to hear this kind of thing in fantasy literature. There was always the age of titans before the age of gods that we're in now, like in ancient Greek mythology, or there was the age of the giants before the age of the gods, like in Norse mythology. And in this mythology, those weird, everlasting dragons, the immortal dragons, were beyond human comprehension, it seems. We don't know a heck of a lot about them. But after an unknown amount of time, perhaps aeons, perhaps time was not mentioned there, because there was no disparity, as she said, in those days. These mighty dragons lived for countless ages, until fire appeared. And this is very vague, and we don't know how fire appeared. We don't know how it came about, where it came from, but we know that fire suddenly popped into existence. And with that fire, they say, came disparity. Well, what does that mean? Well, things became unequal, they became unfair. Instead of having a steady state, a perfection of sameness, of neutrality, of grayness, as we saw in the cutscene, we got difference, we got uniqueness, we got things that were very, very good and very, very bad. Concepts of good and evil came about. Their people became very, very powerful, or in comparison, very, very weak, whereas there was it was static before that. And the people that represented this disparity were the lords, the great lords. Nito, the first lord of the dead. Remember, he became powerful, it seems, because death had not existed before this. There was only a never-ending cycle of a never-ending life, or some sort of weird unlife, sort of like Cthulhu it reminds me of, where it said, they can't live when the stars are right. They don't really look like they're living, these dragons, to me. It's something unique and alien to our experience. Also, the Witch of Izalith, who created pyromancy, and also the final boss of this game, I'll tell you now, I debated that for a second, but Lord Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, who would be the king of the gods. And of course, we can't forget about Seath the Scaleless, the mighty creature that was born a sort of albino mutant and betrayed his own and helped destroy the dragons because he wasn't actually immortal. And of course, the final one that they mentioned, the furtive pygmy, that we don't know much about. Now, I can't really go more into detail in the story now because we don't really have the information yet, and I want to find it and continue it. But that's basically the story from the very beginning. There was a weird primordial age ruled by dragons. Fire came about in disparity, light and darkness, good and evil. And forces of this disparity, of change, came about and annihilated the dragons and took over in a sort of age of the gods. But I'll move back from the story now and just remind you, well, let's talk about where we are. The Northern Undead Asylum. Well, what does it mean to be undead, exactly? If you take a look, I'm going to take my hat off here. I am obviously zombified in some way, shape, or form. I'm not alive at the moment. Well, this age of the gods that I mentioned that followed the primordial age is slowly drawing to a close, and this is something we see in Greek literature before, about golden, silver, and bronze ages. This is a common theme throughout all of human mythology, the idea of a great age of the distant past, of mysterious things where mighty people dwelt, beings beyond our knowledge and comprehension. And those ages eventually come to an end, and the age of man begins, just like it did in The Lord of the Rings, where there was the bizarre age of the ancient gods before there were even elves or even a planet, and then they created Arda, and the elves were created, and then they had their mighty age of mighty heroes, and then there was the Numenorian human age, and then the regular human age with hobbits, and eventually the elves and dwarves and all the mystical things went away, and the humans were left with their mundanity. Mundaneness? What is that word? But anyway, we are coming to the close of this age of the gods, of those four great lords that defeated the original dragons thousands of years ago. And what happened towards the end of this age is that a bizarre curse spread among the people, the curse of the undead, and we were afflicted with this curse. And you'll see we have the dark sign. This signifies an accursed undead. Those branded with it are reborn after death, but will one day lose their mind and go hollow. Death triggers the dark sign, which returns its bearer to the last bonfire, rest of death at the cost of all humanity and souls. We cannot get rid of the dark sign. If we try to get rid of it, it'll, let me show you here. We can't drop it. We can't get rid of this. This is here forever. And eventually, through the dying age of the gods, humanity itself began to die off. As you can see, the building we're here is old and decrepit, and it looks worn, and it doesn't really look all the rust on the gate here. And in this dying age of the gods, the undead came about for some reason. Nobody knows exactly where the undead came from, although they were considered a nuisance, or at the very least, and were corralled away and locked away in asylums. And we happen to be in the Northern Undead Asylum. There is presumably a Southern Undead Asylum as well. Now, once these undead came around, in theory what the undead were supposed to do was to finally bring an end to the age of the gods. And that's the ultimate purpose of the game. And I'm cheating by telling you that because... Sorry about that. And I'm sort of cheating by telling you all this because we don't really learn that until much later on in the game. But what we're ultimately going to be doing is to sort of... We've reached a terminal point to the Age of the Gods, and unlike a lot of the other stories about the end of the Age of the Gods, we seem to have run out the clock on this planet and this civilization at the very least, because everyone seems to be dead. They probably went through a phase where the world was dying and the undead existed, and eventually everyone that was living passed away, and only these zombified corpses that we are remain. And we have to find a way to either extend the last flickering embers of the Age of the Gods, which seems pretty pointless to me, or bring about a new age, the Age of Humanity. But that's a story for another day. I'm going to be doing this playthrough because I love this game, I love playing it, I love telling people about it. I know the game is old at this point, but I just want to go through it again because I know that someone is going to come to this game 10 or 20 years from now, and I love the idea of introducing this game to new people. I know that there's somebody right now who hasn't played this game that has been hearing all sorts of things, and maybe they just played Bloodborne and they want to come into this. Please start playing this game. It is great. Now let's talk about where we are. This is an asylum, a prison for the undead. They say asylum because it kind of means that, the undead eventually go crazy. That's something they don't tell you. It sounds great to be undead, right? You can't die. Who wouldn't want that? Nothing can kill you. Well, there's a big reason you don't want to be undead, which is the fact that I get the impression you don't really seem to be able to enjoy much in life anymore, and you gradually go insane. You really become a full-on mindless husk zombie if you continue on as an undead for too long. And it seems to take a lot of effort and energy and perhaps harming other people and stealing their sanity, their humanity, in order to overcome that. I know I'm rambling and going around in all sorts of things, but I'm just saying extemporaneously what's coming to my mind because I just love this series so much. Just look at these walls here. I know that I mentioned this in my Dark Souls 2 playthrough, but Dark Souls 2 had terrible texture on its walls. Look at this. This looks masterful. I love this. This is very, very well done. I mean, just look how amazing it is. I really, really enjoy this. Love the torches there. I don't know why they're still lit. These are messages on the ground. They just tell you basically how to play the game. This is actually a tutorial level, and I want to mention first, before we get started, that opening cutscene that we watched just now, it was amazing. It was one of the best opening cutscenes I've ever seen in my life, one of the best cinematics I've ever seen in my life, and you could skip it. You could skip right through it if you didn't want to, and you can skip everything if you don't want to watch it in this game, and I mean everything. I just got through playing Assassin's Creed 4, the pirate one, and there were times when they didn't want you to skip through something, and it was utter garbage. I didn't want to see that. Ironically, when they make sure you can skip through everything, that's in one of the places that you do want to see everything and would never want to skip it. That's just a life lesson that you have to learn. Someone who wants to force you to listen to them, to compel you to listen to them, often has absolutely nothing interesting to say. And someone who is humble and has not really any concern about keeping you there and is only interested in making sure that what he's saying is worthwhile, that person is going to be saying something interesting most of the time. We start out here, by the way, in this asylum, and we're let out of this cell. As you can see at the roof up there, there was a knight standing up there who handed us a key. I don't know why we couldn't just bash out of here. I guess that's video game logic or something like that, but who knows. And now that we are free, I don't know how much time has passed since we've been put here, and we know nothing about our life before this, which I think is a good thing. Because something that we can do in this game that I highly encourage everyone to do is something called internal role-playing. And what that is your character is a blank slate, and you may say, well, wait a minute, doesn't that mean my character is terrible? If he's a silent blank slate? No, absolutely not. I think it's great, because like with the letting you read the story rather than telling you the story, the blank slate allows you to create your own character and create your own scenario for who this guy is. And that's what I think everyone should do. My character, by the way, I started out as the class as the thief, for a reason I will eventually get to. He has excellent dex, as you would expect with a thief, 15 dex. Not terrible strength, just a couple points here, we can get a decent shield. Half decent attunement, which is nice. But just look at this place, it looks gorgeous. And if you listen for a second in the background. Turn to the right. Yeah, there's a demon in there. But we can't fight this guy just yet, or Or rather, we really shouldn't. Look at this. That's, he threw this guy against here so hard that he smashed into the wall and broke the bars. So, this guy is pretty tough. And here's another fellow undead lockaway, but almost all of the other undead in this area have gone insane, so we don't really need to worry about them. You're armed with nothing, by the way. Only a broken sword. Although we will be getting our weapon in just a second. And let us just get out of here. This whole thing is beautiful. You can just look at this area and see how amazing it is. Look at the water here. Look at this undead guy who's taking a shit, maybe? I don't know what he's doing there, but it's fantastic. It just looks great. Look at how the walls glisten when they're wet. Look at that. That's amazing. Alright, let's just pop up here on this ladder. And this whole place just looks great. I can just do this all day. But anyway, this is a bonfire. I know this is going to be old hat for a lot of people who have been through the game 100 times like I have, but I just want to include this here for people that are fresh, that are completely starting out, total noobs, never played a Souls game, don't know what the heck is going on, and I want to give them a little tutorial section in a couple of minutes. And I'm going to put a link in the description that you can skip through that if you don't want to watch it. But this bonfire here, if we die, the dark sign respawns us at the bonfire, and I just want to add how brilliant and how perfect it is that they even created a reason for you to die and respawn. You respawn in tons of games or you reload a save, but what's the point behind it? They actually included it in their story, and that's incredible because we're somehow linked to the fire. And this looks beautiful. Look at the little wisps falling around it. The fire there. And that is not a sword that is stuck in there. That is a human bone. And it is a pile of bones that this bonfire is on. And it just adds a sort of grisly sense that we're gaining strength and heat and power from destruction. You know, it's almost like the death and the horror and the suffering from these other people is giving us strength. Which is something, you know, it's like the fire that created this great age involved the death of many horrible people. It reminds me a little bit of the Golden Age and the Dark Age in Berserk, when, you know, it became obvious that Griffith was going to have to kill and hurt many, many people in order to create his Golden Age. Let's take a look at this here. I did not notice these for many playthroughs. I love looking at these statues. Look at these things. There's some sort of weird, like, dog or cat thing. And they're like, I don't know, they look sort of like they're in pain. Why are their necks stretched out like that? Why is there this horrible expression in their eyes? What are these dogs? Or, God, it's kind of strange and a bit anxiety producing. Well, let's take a listen again. The sound in Dark Souls, if you notice, the game does not have a soundtrack aside from boss sequences and cutscenes. You need to be constantly aware of all of the sounds around you, because they can often lead you away from danger. If you just take a listen before you rush in, don't charge right in. This reminds me a lot of the lesson that anyone who plays D&D goes through. When you play D&D for the first time, everybody starts out with what I call a cowboy character. A character that is just built for you, not understanding what the heck is going on, and you charge out away from your friends, and you do all sorts of stupid things. You don't use your backstab, even if you're a thief, and you get yourself killed. You get yourself killed real quick, and you learn very quick that you have to pay attention to your environment, and you have to learn. And you have to approach things cautiously. Fortunately, I've played the games many times, and I do not need to do that. You may notice, by the way, that, and I did not notice this my first playthrough, that when the keys were given to us by our friend on the roof, he looked away, perhaps in distress at something on the roof. That was another one of many, many, many incredibly subtle clues that the game is going to give us about things that we may not even realize until afterwards. Look at this door. This is amazing. Look at the design on it. Why is it different colors? It looks amazing. We put so much time in this. All right, let's open this up. Yeah, look at that up there. That is a hideous demon monster with a giant club. that is waiting to insta-kill us. What we want to do is move left. That door straight ahead, locked. We can't open it. If we go left, there's a door we can get through. We can just barely see it in the corner there. Completely ignore this guy. He is far too powerful for us. And our weapon that we have here is useless. You can technically kill him with it, but it's very difficult. You don't really even want to bother. So we're going to go down, he's going to jump down and scare us, and we're going to go left. Come on. There he is. Immediately go left, into the door. Don't even bother beating him. If you do manage to defeat him early on, then you can get a special item. It's the what is it called? The Demon's Great Hammer that you can get in Dark Souls 2. And yeah, that's not worth it to me. You can kill him pretty quickly with one of your starting items that I did not show. I did not show my character creation, I just wanted to jump into it. One of the things you can get for your character creation is the good old-fashioned black fire bombs that can kill him pretty quickly. But never mind that. Just look at this door. Look at the rust on it. It looks horrifying. It looks like it's a door in Silent Hill. But anyway, let's head over here. Very unique that these two bonfires are close to each other. I promise this is not Dark Souls 2. Don't worry about this. This is not an issue. Okay. And let's just go. Out here, we're going to find our weapon, and a guy's going to shoot arrows at us. I'm going to talk about... I have the target shield here. I'm going to talk about this when I do my little tutorial section. We have our shield here. This little bastard. Come here, you son of a bitch. Come here. Look how powerful our weapon is. 6, and that's on a backstab. But now we have our real weapon, the bandit's knife. And... cut you, mofo. There we go. Now let's head out here and talk to our friend who gave us that key. And then after that, I'm going to do the little tutorial section, my own little tutorial. And for those are total noobs who have no idea about what this game is. Well, that's curious. What's going on here? Our friend's in there, but we can't seem to get in. What are we going to do? Why don't we just head up these stairs and... Whoa, no! What's that? Wow. Thanks, game. A giant rock crashed through. There it is. Look at this thing. Thank you, game. But let's talk to Oscar of Astora.
Oh, you. You're no hollow, hmm? Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I, we're both undead. Hear me out, will you? Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite. Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
And you probably didn't hear it, but in the background we can hear the death noise for our friend Oscar as he dies and loses his souls. And mysteriously, we get them. I don't understand quite why that is. But anyway, link in the description now. I'm going to do the tutorial for noob section for people that have just never played the damn game before and are just starting out completely. Okay, so if you skipped, I'm back right now. Let's take a look at it here. This is gorgeous. Very rarely in your life do you see design as beautiful as this. Look at this. This is amazing. Maybe it's just because of my love of ruins. I I'm fascinated with archaeology. I just look at this. Look at it. Look at the roof up there. It's kind of broken. And you can see the sky out there and the mist and fog and the snow-capped mountains. Where are we? And the forest, is that a forest way down below? Yes, it is. And the ruins, it's clinging to the side of this mountain. It's absolutely amazing. Now I'm going to go over here and press blue, and I will take an Estus flask. If you played Dark Souls 2, you know what they are. They are healing potions, and every time that you play the game, you will, every time that you rest at a bonfire, not only will it restore all of the enemies, it will also replenish all of your Estus flasks. Something about the Estus flask is sort of looks fiery, and it's somehow, it's sort of like the essence of the fire that restores you, that restores your health. I'm not sure about that. Let's look at this message. While falling, plunging attack. If you're just coming from Dark Souls 2, the plunging attack in that game does not fucking work. It doesn't work. They screwed it up. You blew it. You blew it. It doesn't work. In this game, however, it works. If you fall down on an enemy from a height and press R1 right before you hit them, you will do a devastating plunging attack that will do a significant amount of damage. Now let's go take care of that demon guy in here. There he is. Hi there. Oh my god, I missed the plunging attack. That is embarrassing. I don't know if I should die and go back, or... I don't know if I feel like doing that. Oh, that was so stupid. I might just want to die and go back so I can show that to you guys. But, maybe I'll try to beat him. I'll try to beat him, and if I die, you know... You see that gush of blood that came out there? That's because this weapon does bleeding damage. Certain special, mostly dexterity-based weapons do extra bleeding damage, which means that if you hit an enemy a certain number of times, usually 3 or 4 times, you will do extra damage. They will take a sort of critical hit worth of damage. Oh, we were able to block with our tiny shield. That was awesome. I'm impressed by that. I'm impressed by our shield. You see, we just took another big chunk of their health away with the bleeding damage. And you notice the Estus flask thing there is actually green. The bottle, it's like a beer bottle. Filled with Sunny D or something. So we just defeated that guy. I feel like a fool for missing that plunging attack. I'm an idiot. What can I say? But now that we have the key, we can get out of here. And... he's very dramatic when he opens doors for some reason. Let us head right out here. This is just beautiful. Look at this. This is absolutely gorgeous. How could you not love this? It's just so beautifully done. But again, I love decay and ruins. I should have joined the Doom Guard in Sigil. And you'll notice here, there's a nice soul of the lost undead. This is actually a cemetery. Why was there a cemetery at the Undead Asylum? What was the point? I don't understand. It doesn't make it... I mean, were there guards here that were not undead, that just died in general? I don't know. Let's take a look over here. Eggs. If you played Dark Souls 2, you'll know what this is about, but unfortunately, yes, this is Sparkling Dina and Tilo of this game known as Snuggly the Crow. And we can leave things to get from them. But we don't have anything right now, so we'll come back. But just take a look at that. Look at that dome on the right. That's amazing. Look at this place. Absolutely gorgeous. The atmosphere. Atmosphere is a very vague, woolly word. You know, you can't really exactly define what it means. But this game has atmosphere in spades. Just look at this. It's incredible. I'm going to go to the starting hub area after this cutscene and probably end it there.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. Undead Asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
I'm going to leave you here until the next time. I know I rambled crazily and went off on all sorts of tangents and probably didn't do a great job of explaining myself, but unfortunately, I'm sorry about that, but I will continue this in the next episode, where we will talk about Firelink Shrine and environs. Until then, praise the sun. I will see you then.